I think you just get it out of the way. Like, you're just like, hi.
Hi or hello.
Da-da-da.
Hello, I'm Kat.
And this is Hermione.
And welcome to I Don't See the Point, a podcast that we've decided to create to share ballet from an audience's perspective.
Something that we've noticed is that a lot of podcasts about ballet are from people who are dancers' perspective or people who are ex-dancers' perspective, and we want to add something different as fans.
In this podcast, we're going to be covering everything from ballet performances we've seen and dancers we love to
Embarrassing stories involving us and sometimes ballet dancers and all sorts of ballet gossip.
So the reason we've decided to create this podcast is primarily fueled by anger.
And pettiness.
Pettiness, yeah. We were at a ballet-related event recently, probably a few months ago.
Yeah, a couple of months ago now. And we met a guy there who you would think at a ballet-related event would have some or any interest in ballet, or expect people he was talking to have some or any interest in ballet.
Yeah. Not only did he clearly not have any interest, but he went out of his way to talk about how inaccessible it was.
He was pretty reluctant to change his mind about that.
We were trying to share some ways in which ballet is accessible and ways that he could possibly maybe get into it or investigate and see if he would be interested in it, and he completely shot us down.
The fruit of that is us now trying to convince
Other
everyone
people, yeah,
to rethink their ideas about ballet.
And this is one of our goals with the podcast, is to share some of the ways that ballet has become more accessible in recent years and some of the great opportunities out there for ballet goers and non-ballet goers alike.
We completely acknowledge that it definitely has had times of being inaccessible in the past and that it has sort of deserved that reputation, but not so much anymore, and we want to draw attention to that fact.
In this podcast, we're mostly going to be talking about the Royal Ballet, because that's the company that Hermione and I go and see most and that we've really grown up with.
And the other thing that's amazing about the Royal Ballet is that they have the most easily accessible content related to ballet. They stream every year on World Ballet Day extensively. They have behind the scenes videos, they have rehearsal videos.
All on YouTube.
All available on YouTube for free. Just to set the scene with a little bit about us, one of the other things that I've spoken about a lot with ballet fans is the sense that ballet is only for old people. I will be 23 in 2 weeks. Kat is already 23. And I've been watching or doing ballet since I was 11, seriously, and became a pretty crazy fan
I can
during that time. And I've been going to the Royal Opera House for 17 years, and I've seen over 60 performances.
Wow.
And I have been going alone to sort of £10 seats since I was about 15.
I've been doing ballet since I was, since I started when I was 4. I gave up and began again when I was 13 or 14. And yeah, I'm now 23. I'm still doing ballet, and I've been seeing performances for 19 years, I think, because I went when I was 4. Is that
Yes.
19 years? Yeah.
Close.
For 19 years. My first ballet was when I was 4. And I don't know how many performances I've seen. My parents are big ballet fans as well, so I usually go along with them. So Hermione and I have both been to see Sleeping Beauty recently, the Royal Ballet's Sleeping Beauty, and we want to share our thoughts with you a bit.
You've probably already heard of Sleeping Beauty. It's one of the most famous ballets out there. It's one of the 3 original Tchaikovsky-composed ballets, which are
Swan Lake, Nutcracker and Sleeping Beauty.
And it was also choreographed by Marius Petipa for its 1890, I think, stage debut in Russia. And the Royal Ballet's production is really close to their hearts, I think.
You've probably already heard the music. As mentioned, it's composed by Tchaikovsky. It was also in the Disney movie of Sleeping Beauty, and here's a little bit that you might recognise.
This production, the Royal Ballet's actually been doing since 2006, I think. They've changed the costumes since then.
Once.
Yeah.
Once.
They've definitely changed them since then. It was also one of the first performances, I think, that the Royal Ballet did in the Royal Opera House after World War II. So, big deal for them.
Yeah. Okay, do we need to tell the story?
I think people know the story.
Not gonna lie, I'm a bit confused on, even though I've just seen it. It can be a bit confusing.
I think people had picture books of Sleeping Beauty.
I didn't have that.
You know, there's a king, a queen, they invite a bunch of fairies to their kids' christening.
I just had the Disney movie, guys, which it's not exactly like the Disney movie.
It's quite like the Disney movie, but it doesn't have a prince based on Prince Philip because...
Prince Philip?
Yeah, the prince in the Disney movie is based on the Duke of Edinburgh.
Oh, I forgot he was
Welcome
called
to
Philip.
the Disney podcast, guys. It's pretty standard to the actual fairy tale. There's a few changes just because it's a ballet, but Carabosse, who is the ballet's version of the sort of maleficent, evil fairy character, curses Aurora at her christening because she wasn't invited to prick her finger on a spindle when she's 16 and die. Very dramatic. And the Lilac Fairy, who is the ballet's version of like a sort of fairy godmother, but she's young and pretty, as is typical, kind of reverses the curse and says that it's just going to be that Aurora sleeps for 100 years. Standard stuff. Sure enough, Aurora's 16, she had a little dance around with her friends, pricks her finger on the spindle, falls asleep. Lilac Fairy puts everyone else in the palace to sleep. We cut to 100 years later. There's a prince. His name is Florimond, which is a great name.
His own business in the woods.
As you do. And he's feeling a bit mopey about life because he hasn't got a girlfriend. And the Lilac Fairy shows up and shows him a vision of Aurora, which entices him to go to her, by now very overgrown castle, to wake her up. There's a bit where he walks in and he's like, "Where is she?" And she's very obviously on the bed right next to him. And the Lilac Fairy's like...
Yeah, it's borderline comedic, that bit.
It kind of doesn't stand up, I'm not going to lie. He kisses her, she wakes up, Carabosse is defeated by this wonderful act, and then we cut to a really excessive wedding sequence which lasts a whole act where they have a bunch of random fairy tale guests like
Red Riding Hood
and the wolf, who reenact the way that they met, which makes me feel like they're just that weird couple who go to parties and keep telling everyone how they got together. A lot of the setup for the big classical ballets is designed so that there's not too much time dancing for certain people because it's tiring.
A lot of it conforms to Marius Petipa's and the original ballet choreographic style. A typical stamp of Petipa is this sequence where you get a couple dancing together and they will dance together for a section, then they have the female solo first, then the male solo, and then they dance together again. And you can expect to see this a lot in Petipa ballets.
I mean, the whole ballet is really good, but there's sort of 4 main moments to pay attention to in terms of technicality. The first is in the prologue with the 7 fairies solos. So essentially all the fairies come on, each one does a little solo on their own. They're very pretty. They tend to give these roles to slightly younger dancers so that they can sort of test out having a solo moment on stage, but each solo sort of tends to last about 2 minutes.
And not to mention that they're really technically difficult, these solos.
They're incredibly difficult.
They're only about a minute or a minute and a half long, but they are tiring, these ones. In this ballet there's a lot of mime, basically sort of ballet sign language, which can be kind of difficult if it's your first time seeing it. But in the prologue, when you see mime, what they're saying is Carabosse comes on and says, "How dare you not invite me to your party?" The king actually sort of says, "Oh, it's not my fault, it's someone else's fault."
Yeah, the king's a massive wuss about it.
He is. He sort of delegates the blame onto his assistant, who Carabosse kind of punishes a bit. But one of the fairies in attendance at this party is the Lilac Fairy. She comes on and says, after Carabosse has cursed the child, she says, "You want to hurt the baby?" And Carabosse goes, "Yes, she will die when she pricks her finger." And the Lilac Fairy goes, "No, she will not die, she will just fall into a deep sleep." Another section that's really technically demanding comes in Act 1, and it's the pretty famous Rose Adagio. This is at Aurora's 16th birthday, and the principal dancer that plays Aurora, usually principal dancer, is on stage for a really, really long time, and it's a very technically demanding section just in that alone. And she's dancing nearly the entire time, and there are a bunch of really, really difficult balances and turns, and what's also really hard is to get Aurora's characterization in there, to show this mixture of naivety and innocence that she has. Can be really, really difficult for a dancer.
But it's also a great opportunity for the dancer to sort of show off like a softness of technique. And I think a lot of dancers, I think a lot of them get very wrapped up in being like, I need to stay on point at this moment, and then they sort of lose track of the performance aspect. So it's a sort of balancing act for them. My personal favourite bit of the whole ballet, the music, just the costumes, it's so magnificent, is the vision sequence where the Lilac Fairy shows Florimond a sort of vision of Aurora that he dances with.
Yep.
It's a sort of mini version of Some of Swan Lake. I think Tchaikovsky actually wrote Swan Lake first, but this is a sort of condensed moment of it. And it's a great chance for the dancer playing Aurora to show the sort of more sad, longing side of the character, even though she's actually portraying is a made-up version of Aurora for the prince's benefit. There's this real beauty to the sort of movement where they are just passing through each other, never quite touching.
The final really technically amazing bit in the whole ballet is in Act 4, and it's something that is another thing that you see in Petit Pas ballets is a grand pas de deux. The grand pas de deux is typically the culmination of the ballet, and it's the most grand music, the grandest costumes, and everything just leads up to this point. It's called the grand pas de deux, which in French means great dance of two. That's what a pas de deux is. It's a dance with two dancers, typically male and female. And in typical Petit Pas style, Aurora and Florimond come on together. This is their wedding scene, and they have this amazing partnership dance. There's something called a fish dive, which is basically where the male partner sort of sweeps the female partner up, and they sort of dive down to the ground together. And it's there's a bit where he doesn't hold on to her. That
she's
sounds
balanced with just her leg wrapped around his waist.
She wraps her leg around his waist to balance her so that she doesn't fall flat on the floor. Sometimes it can go wrong, honestly, and that's...
My heart is in my mouth when I'm watching this.
Oh yeah, I'm holding my breath so that just in case...
I mean, it's a really emotional moment in terms of the music and the choreography, but also I'm sitting there thinking, please don't drop her, please don't drop her, please don't drop her.
And then they have their solos. Aurora's solo is really, really famous in the ballet world, and it really represents her growing up and her journey through life.
She's a queen by the end, you know, she's a princess.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Well, like, emotionally.
Oh, emotionally. I thought she got a promotion.
No, her mum didn't die.
Right. I was like, I missed that bit of the ballet.
Emotionally, she's a queen by the end, and... you know, you see her sort of become a married woman rather than a girl, I guess.
And then Prince Florimond's solo is one of the most technically demanding parts for a male dancer. The music is really, really intense, and it's a short but sweet and really, like, astounding solo at the end. It's great. Another really, really technically astounding part in Act 4 is something called the Bluebird variation. The male Bluebird variation is one of the most famous variation solos in ballet.
You might have heard the music.
This is known to be one of the most technically demanding parts for a male dancer in all of ballet.
They sometimes give this pas de deux to principals, to people who are at the top
because
of
it is
level
just
of their
that
career,
difficult.
even though they're only on stage for about 5 minutes, just because it's so difficult and it's such a high point, I think, in the ballet. Like, if you know the ballet well, you're definitely checking the cast list to see who's going to be doing the Bluebirds, and you're waiting for that moment. But it can also be a really great opportunity for two dancers who are just sort of up and coming to really, like, show their stuff.
Oh, yeah. I've noticed some fantastic dancers that I haven't paid attention to before through the Bluebird, the male and female variations.
Me too. So we actually went to see 2 different casts. We didn't go together.
Which we don't actually often do. We normally go and see different things.
We do. We actually don't like each other.
No, we hate each other.
I really like going alone to the ballet because I
Could take it in.
I'm an introvert.
So who did you see?
I went to see Anna Rose O'Sullivan and Stephen McRae. Stephen McRae is in his 30s. He's been dancing for a while. And
he's fantastic. We love him.
I love that little man. He's been a principal for quite a long time. I think he was promoted in 2009, 2010. And he, honestly, just seeing him on stage makes me so happy. He's had a lot of injuries in his career, but he is still fantastic. And something I really love about him is I think he's a very secure partner.
Oh, totally.
Which you need to be for the Tchaikovsky ballets, because a lot of Petipa's choreography is man picks up woman, man puts down woman, look at woman.
And we can't underestimate
Repeat.
just how difficult that is for the male dancers. They make it look easy, but it's really hard.
And to put any emotional performance into that is really impressive because they're cardboard cutouts. And then Anna Rose O'Sullivan is a recent-ish
about 2 years ago.
About 2 years. And she did debut in Sleeping Beauty in 2019, but I didn't see her. So I was really excited to see her do this role. I'd seen her 5 years ago now as one of the Bluebirds, and I followed her career for a long time. I knew she was going to do a really good job in this role. She has this real joy that she brings to her dancing. She looks like she's having a good time, and that's surprisingly rare with Auroras because it's so technically difficult. Sometimes you can really see the dancer getting in their heads about it, and they don't bring that same sort of youthful energy. And I really personally like to see a younger, but also to see a younger Aurora, because the role is for it's a 16-year-old. So I was really excited to see her. She did a fantastic job. I think she's stunning from a technical perspective, and I think she did have the right sort of youthful energy. She's got a really lovely way of holding herself that I think suits the role fantastically.
Lovely.
So yeah, 10 out of 10.
Sounds great.
10 out of 10.
So the cast I saw was Vadim Montagirov as Prince Florimond and the amazing Marinella Nunes as Princess Aurora. Marinella Nunes is one of my favourite dancers. She is so fantastic. She's been doing this role for nearly 20 years, I think. And she just keeps getting better and better. She is a dancer that never loses her youthful innocence and naivety that's so essential to Aurora's character. But the great thing about Marinella is that she's so secure in the technical aspects of the role that she just makes it look so easy. And in the Rose Adagio, one of the hardest parts in the ballet, there's a sequence of 3 balances, and that happens twice. And Marinella is one of the dancers that can just stay on her leg, balance on point for so long. She's such a rock star of a dancer. She's absolutely incredible.
Because she puts, like, she makes your heart speed up, like, when she's on stage.
Totally.
It sounds so cheesy, but when I watch her, I have, like, a massive grin on my face.
Vadim Montagirov is also an amazingly talented principal dancer, and he is just such a rock star as well. He used to be at the English National Ballet, and he moved to the Royal Ballet in the last 10 years.
We think.
And there was a woman in the row in front of me who clearly loved him so much that when he came on to do his solo in the last act, she actually clapped and was so excited to see him.
So cute.
And yeah, he's just incredible as well.
He makes me feel so secure, I think, sometimes, because what male ballet dancers are doing is so difficult. There's such a strong...
So hard.
Yeah, there's such a strong chance that they're going to have, like, a little stumble.
Yeah.
So many dancers get injured on stage. So he is just so technically strong. Watching him, I feel like I can actually relax and enjoy the performance and just watch what he's doing, which is so elegant and beautiful.
And Vadim is really known for his amazing ability to jump. When he jumps, it feels like time stops when he's in the air. It's insane.
And he lands so softly.
So softly.
If any of you have gone to ballet performances, because the theatres are built to have amazing acoustics, you hear every step on the stage. So if someone lands like with a massive thud, you hear it all around the auditorium, and he lands so softly. He's so light on his feet. It's beautiful.
So that's Sleeping Beauty, and that's why we love it. So the Royal Ballet is currently on their mid-season break. They start the season in late September, sometimes early October.
Like the school year.
Yeah, but they run non-stop through Christmas, and it's late January now. So they stop, they have a week, 2 weeks off for the dancers to relax and just refresh a bit, and then they come back and they do the rest of their season until June, late June, I think. So they're currently on their mid-season break, but Sleeping Beauty is coming back after this, and there are still tickets available. One of the things that we really want to highlight is that the Royal Opera House does an amazing scheme for 16 to 25-year-olds. They offer £25 tickets for any seat in the house.
So you can basically get a ticket that would normally cost you like £100, £150 for so insanely cheap. This is what I had a young ROH ticket to see Sleeping Beauty recently, in fact.
So you can go onto the Royal Opera House website and sign up as a young ROH member.
And we're not sponsored by the Royal Opera House, by the way. We just really, really like them.
Yeah, we just love them. And in that vein, another thing I want to highlight is that on March 8th, the Royal Opera House is reserving the whole house for young ROH members. The whole house will be those £25 tickets, and it's for a performance of Wolfworks. And they've never done this before. They've never had the whole house just be young people, and it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. So the Royal Opera House is starting their run of Wolfworks, which is an adaptation of 3 of Virginia Woolf's books, in March. It's a really different vibe to Sleeping Beauty. It's a much more modern ballet, and it's set to music composed by Max Richter, who composes for film and TV most times.
If you made it this far, thank you. I'm very impressed. We will be back at some unknown date to talk more about ballets that we've seen, other upcoming ballets, dancers that we like at great length, and probably some embarrassing stories about ourselves.
Yeah, we have a few. Ultimately, our goal with this podcast, I Don't See the Point, is to help more people see the point of ballet.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no, let's stop this shambles.